So unlike other drum samplers, maybe that are pads or button oriented, because we have an acoustic drum, we can track how far or close you are to one zone or the other. And that allows us to do some really nice things with sample control. One of those includes blending between two zones. So right now I have this kick sound on the center and a snare sound on the edge. And what I can do here is select the center zone and go down to the blend map area. And so the way this works is it says here I have center selected, and I can turn blends on or off between the center and any other zone. So if I turn on the blend between the center and the edge, you'll notice that the edge has now reciprocally gotten added to a blend with the center, and you'll hear the difference. So you can see that when I move from one zone to the other, rather than getting a sharp cutoff between the samples, the mix between the two moves up or down smoothly. So if I turn the blends off, you can hear what kind of difference that makes. So you can hear that sharp break between where I'm crossing the border between the zones, and we can make that border disappear with the blends. You can create blends between more than just two pads. You can have as many blends between as many pads as you want. It's a full matrix. So if I activate the damped zone here, and I add maybe this kind of snare sound. So we have, so right now they're not blended. So if I go down here and blend between the center and the edge, you get this really natural ability to move between samples smoothly and freely. And it's much more like playing an actual drum than playing a sampler. We also have a couple blend presets where you can just select these buttons right here, all on, all off, or defaults, and it'll automatically change all of the blends for this drum. So all on, obviously, will turn every blend on between every zone, which can be a cool effect, but you gotta be careful with it. All off will just turn off all the blends, and the defaults are kind of blend settings that we've designed that we think make sense for a particular drum. So let's say I wanted to make a slightly more complex mapping with more than just drum sounds, and I wanted to layer chords on top. So if I create a sampler on the center and I drag this chord to that sampler, create another sampler on the edge zone and drag the next chord to this sampler. They're being blended together right now, and they're two different chords, and blending on top of each other, it sounds muddy, right? So you don't necessarily want that. So I'm gonna tweak a couple settings, and we can get it sounding nice and clean, where the chords don't overlap on each other, and they don't interact with the blends in a way that you don't want. So what we wanna do is select retrigger on these chords so that they start over every time you hit them. And I'll create a choke group, call it chord 1, and I'll add both of these to that choke group. And you'll notice that when I created that choke group, this blend button up here turned off automatically. Now this setting right here, it excludes the sampler from being included in a blend calculation. So you can turn it on or off, but if you add something into a choke group, it'll automatically handle that for you. So what this means now is that when I hit the center and then go to the edge, those chords will not overlap, they'll choke each other off, and the blends won't mess with them. But we still have the blends underneath. So that's a really useful technique if you want to deal with tonal material and layer it on top of drums. drum sounds, but you still want the kind of very natural, intuitive, free-flowing drum sounds that sensory percussion is so good at. So you can create these kind of two layers of sounds on top of each other and manage different sample material differently according to what the content is.